5 days ago, as of the time of this recording, a relatively unknown player got 86% on Banshee, which is an upcoming top 1 that was originally meant to be verified by Space UK before the big funny happened. Since then, it has fallen to obscurity as this verifier has been able to get some progress on the level, and estimates that it will probably only take a couple more months before the verification is fully complete. So is this new top 1 capable of dethroning Tidal Wave, a demon that is widely regarded to be much more difficult than anything else on the list? If you enjoyed today's video, please remember to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton, and you can always undo it later. Without further ado, let's get into the video. SP has been making a decent amount of progress on the levels since he picked up the verification, getting 29% 7 months ago, and 42% shortly after that, before heading into 2.2 with a record of 70%, which was the last record mentioned in my video on what if Space UK was never caught. And then of course a few days ago, 86%. I have to say, this is some extremely impressive progress, especially considering that 2.2 was just randomly thrown in the mix, which completely changes the physics of the game, at least when you're talking about it from the perspective of a top 1 player trying to verify something that could possibly be able to dethrone Tidal Wave. And in terms of a timeline with other upcoming potential top 1s, this is definitely leading the whole crowd by far, as the closest established top 1 verifications that have a decent amount of progress are probably the Apocalyptic Trilogy, and at this point maybe even Grief, which doesn't really have that much progress in it, and I only even mention because Doggy is using the CBF mod. This would serve towards Banshee's advantage, considering that Apocalyptic Trilogy and Grief are both extremely long levels, and both probably significantly harder than Tidal Wave as well, so the most likely way that Banshee would be able to be top 1 would be if it was verified before these other levels, which is the most likely outcome it seems. The real question is it actually hard enough to be top 1? Up until the recent 86% record, all of these records have top 3 in the title, not necessarily claiming that the level is a top 1 hardest demon. But the latest record does just say top 1 to 3, meaning that it's possible that this could be top 1, but it could also be a top 3, or a top 2. Basically, it could land anywhere in the top 3, but I think there's some good information that indicates that this could very much be a top 1. First off, this level was originally given to Space UK back before it was found out that he actually hacked his entire career. And during that time, Space UK did claim that this was by far the hardest thing he had ever attempted in the game, and that it was top 1 by far. But when he said this, Acheron was still reigning supreme on the entire demon list, and since in the present day Acheron has been pushed down to number 3, that doesn't really mean much. That being said, Avernus was originally placed below Acheron, and while it is most likely harder than Acheron, the difficulty between the two was relatively contested, meaning that the difficulty gap between Acheron and Avernus is likely a lot lower, or a lot smaller than the gap between Tidal Wave and Avernus. It's possible even one day we would see Avernus and Acheron swap again. But why exactly should we trust Space UK? In my opinion, I think that Space UK was roughly correct about Banshee in terms of his difficulty estimate of it, not because of his supposed skill. I mean, in comparison to all of these levels he's ass at the game, he's still trying to beat the Golden. But he fully intended on this level being the next top 1. He wanted to verify this as a top 1, meaning that even from his perspective, it definitely was harder than Acheron by a long shot, which is something he could say confidently even without beating Acheron legitimately. On top of this, SP has been able to buff the level in quite a few areas, stating that the current version of Banshee has the hardest version of the pre-drop ever. So I think there's a very good chance that it would at least land in the top 2 above both Acheron and Avernus, even if its difficulty relative to Tidal Wave is more contested. So I think it's pretty obvious that this is probably at least a top 2. However, things get a lot more messy when it comes to Tidal Wave specifically, because Tidal Wave is a 3-minute extreme demon. Banshee appears to presumably be around half of that. Well, that is a significant bit longer than Acheron and a fair bit longer than Avernus. Tidal Wave also manages to shove a ton of difficulty into the level and simply just keeps going with it for nearly 3 minutes of gameplay, which is pretty hard to beat with a level that is a lot shorter, which has historically been the case with XL extreme demons that are at the top 1 spot. That's not to say it hasn't been done though. Zodiac was also extremely long and Tartarus was able to beat it. And at the end of the day, the verifier and the creators of this level have stated that it is very much a deceptively hard level, in that while the level does look a fair bit easier than you would think it should look, this level has a lot of very difficult timings. And honestly, that does sound about right, considering that this is technically a sequel to Hard Machine, which is also known for a very similar style of gameplay. I still don't really know why this level was named Banshee though. That seems odd to me. So anyways, in conclusion, I think that this level is going to at least crack the top 2. Whether it's harder than Tidal Wave or not remains to be seen. We probably won't be able to figure that out until someone has significant progress on both. My guess is that Trick and W Popoff might have another friendly race to be the first victor of Banshee after it's verified, and since both of them have beaten Tidal Wave, we'll get a pretty good idea after that on whether it's harder or not. At the very least, I think Trick would go for it, considering that he's putting everything he has into Apocalyptic Trilogy. trilogy, it would most definitely add the necessary buffs in order to make the level harder than Banshee and Tidal Wave. If you enjoyed today's video, please remember to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton, yada yada. You get the whole idea. Just a shorter video for today, and finals are kind of kicking my ass, so please like, comment, and subscribe to support my endeavors so I can talk about a cube game instead of working at Mickey D's. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.
Bye!